Somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago, a wolf walked up to a human campfire, and humanity made possibly the best decision in its entire history. That wolf's descendants now sleep in beds, wear tiny sweaters, and get birthday parties. Meanwhile, foxes are still out there getting side-eyed by everyone. So what actually happened? How did one of the most dangerous predators on the planet turn into a creature that now cries when you leave the room for 5 minutes? And why didn't this happen to literally every other wild animal humans ran into? Forget the version where a caveman found an adorable wolf pup and decided to raise it like a golden retriever. That's not really how this went down. The leading theory is way less wholesome and way more practical. Ancient humans generated trash, bones, scraps, leftover carcasses, a whole buffet of garbage sitting around every camp. Wolves noticed. And not the bold, aggressive wolves either. The bold ones got speared. It was the slightly more chill, less panicky wolves that hung back at a safe distance and scavenged the leftovers without causing problems. Over generations, the wolves that tolerated humans best got the most food, survived the most, and reproduced the most. Basically, humans didn't domesticate wolves on purpose. Wolves domesticated themselves by being the least annoying ones at the dumpster. Compare that to deer. Deer also hung around ancient human camps looking for scraps and safety from other predators. But deer never made that same leap into companionship. Why? Because deer are prey animals wired to bolt first and ask questions never. Wolves, despite being predators, actually had the right social brain wiring already built in. They lived in packs, followed a hierarchy, and understood cooperation. Humans just slid right into that structure as the new pack leader. It also helped that wolves were already used to a very specific kind of arrangement: group hunting, shared food, and a clear chain of command. A human camp wasn't actually that different from a wolf den once you squinted at it. Someone in charge, a group working together, and food being distributed based on your place in the hierarchy. Here's where things get genuinely wild. In the 1950s, a Russian scientist named Dmitry Belyaev wanted to see if he could recreate dog domestication on fast forward using silver foxes. His method was simple. Every generation, he only bred the calmest, least aggressive foxes toward humans. No training, no treats, just picking the chillest individuals and breeding them together, generation after generation. Within a shockingly small number of generations, something bizarre started happening. The foxes didn't just get friendlier. Their ears started flopping. Their tails started curling. Some got patches of white fur. They basically started looking more like dogs, purely as a side effect of selecting for calm behavior. Turns out, the genes responsible for not being terrified or aggressive around humans are tangled up with a bunch of physical traits too. So when ancient wolves were essentially running this same experiment on themselves over thousands of years, the friendliest ones didn't just act more like modern dogs. They started looking the part too. Floppier ears, curlier tails, softer faces. Nature accidentally invented the golden retriever aesthetic through pure behavioral selection. Now, dogs came from an active social predator that basically volunteered for the job. Cats had an entirely different origin story, and honestly, it explains a lot about their personalities. Cats domesticated themselves around the time humans started farming grain. Grain storage meant rodents. Rodents meant wildcats showed up to hunt them. Humans looked at this arrangement and thought, great, free pest control, don't mind if you stick around. But here's the key difference. Cats never needed humans the way dogs did. Dogs relied on human leftovers and human approval to survive. Cats were still fully capable hunters doing their own thing. They just tolerated humans because the mice were plentiful, and nobody was actively trying to kill them. This is basically why dogs today act like you hung the moon, and cats act like they're doing you a favor by living in your house. It's not really a personality quirk. It's 15,000 years of completely different domestication pressure. Horses are another interesting case, because unlike wolves, humans didn't stumble into domesticating horses by accident. It was much more deliberate. Wild horses were originally hunted for meat, not companionship. It took a very long time and a specific shift toward farming and long-distance travel before humans realized a horse's real value wasn't as dinner. It was as transportation, labor, and eventually warfare. Unlike wolves, horses are prey animals, which means their entire nervous system is built around one instinct: run first, figure out the rest later. Domesticating a prey animal into something you can literally sit on top of and steer required a completely different approach than domesticating a predator that wanted to be near you anyway. This is part of why horse domestication took so much intentional effort and specific breeding, while dog domestication basically happened in the background while humans weren't even trying. For every wolf that became a golden retriever, there's a whole list of animals that tried the same move and just didn't make it. Zebras are essentially the wild horse's more aggressive, less cooperative cousin. Multiple attempts throughout history tried to domesticate zebras for riding and labor. It consistently failed because zebras panic easily, hold grudges, and have a nasty habit of biting down and not letting go. A useful animal has to be manageable under stress, and zebras just never got that memo. Hyenas are another example. Despite looking somewhat dog-like and living in social groups, hyenas have such a rigid, brutal internal hierarchy that they never adapted well to living alongside humans as companions or workers. Even some early wolf populations didn't make the cut. Not every wolf lineage mellowed out. Some stayed too aggressive, too unpredictable, or too independent to ever comfortably live near humans. And those lines simply stayed wild wolves, doing wolf things, far away from campfires and dinner scraps. Domestication, it turns out, isn't really something humans could force onto just any animal. It required the right starting personality, the right social structure, and honestly, a decent amount of lucky timing. Fast forward past thousands of years of this slow, accidental partnership, and you get the mind-bending range of dog breeds walking around today. A 3-pound Chihuahua and a massive Great Dane are, genetically, the same species as an actual wild wolf. That's an almost unbelievable amount of variation packed into one animal. And it all traces back to those early, cautious wolves that decided the campfire scraps were worth the risk. Humans then took that raw material and, over centuries, selectively bred dogs for extremely specific jobs: herding, guarding, hunting, retrieving, even just being small enough to sit comfortably on a lap. Every single modern breed is a direct descendant of that original decision made by a slightly bolder than average wolf, multiplied by thousands of years of very deliberate human tinkering. So next time your dog does something ridiculous, like guarding an empty cardboard box like it's the crown jewels, remember, you're looking at the end result of tens of thousands of years of wolves slowly, cautiously, and repeatedly choosing to trust humans, generation after generation,